Michelle Sahin and Melissa DePino didn't know each other, but they were thrust together into the national spotlight the day they witnessed two black men being arrested at Starbucks in Philadelphia for not buying coffee. This video posted by Melissa went viral and has now been viewed more than 11 million times.
What did they get called for? Because there are two black guys sitting here meeting me? Yes, I didn't know. Well, what did they do?
You can hear Michelle loudly defending the men.
They didn't do anything. I saw the entire thing.
What did they do?
That video led to a massive backlash, and Starbucks responded by closing 8,000 stores to conduct racial bias education for employees. Since then, Michelle and Melissa have co-founded an organization, From Privilege to Progress, that encourages white people to speak out against racism and amplify the voices of people of color. Just last week, Melissa came face-to-face with potential presidential candidate and former Starbucks CEO, Howard Schultz, while he was in Philadelphia promoting his new book. During his appearance, Schultz addressed the controversial arrests.
We had a bad policy in which it was really the manager's discretion. She was white. In a matter of minutes, a verbal problem occurred, and she decided that she felt a threat, and she called 911.
A few minutes later, Melissa stood up and confronted Mr. Schultz, accusing him of misrepresenting what happened the day of the arrests.
Very respectfully, I need to say to you, you are not describing the incident accurately. And the way you are describing it is perpetuating the problem. But when you say there was words between the two of them and she felt threatened, that didn't happen. I saw it with my own two eyes.
Michelle and Melissa are here to share the story behind the headlines of two innocent black men being arrested right in front of them, and how it has led to a national conversation on race.
Really excited to get to know you. I think your story is incredible.
Yeah.
Can we start with you kind of telling us about your story and how all this started, how you two met?
We were just at Starbucks. We didn't know each other.
Not together?
No. Not together.
Strangers.
Strangers. You know, it was a regular day for me. I was in a Starbucks. You know, I walk in, and I saw these two really cute black boys walk in. Right. That's why she was watching. Because they were cute, so I was watching them.
Right.
And they walk up to the barista, asked to use the bathroom, and she said, no, it's for paying customers only. And they sat down, and for some reason, my gut immediately said, I don't trust her.
Right.
And the white guy next to me was there for 45 minutes. He didn't have a coffee.
Yeah.
I saw a white girl walk in mid-jog, use the bathroom, and leave.
Wow.
But I said, you know, Michelle, maybe you're assuming.
Judging, prejudging. Yeah.
Judging.
Michelle's instincts were right. At that moment, the Starbucks manager was calling 911.
How may I help you? Hi, I have two gentlemen at my cafe that are refusing to make a purchase or leave. I'm at the Starbucks at 18th and Spruce. All right, please, I'll be on as soon as possible. Thank you.
And I heard her lie. And I was like, oh my God, my gut was right. I heard her lie. She goes, those two gentlemen in the corner, they're refusing to leave. And this very like fake damsel in distress type of voice.
Right.
Yeah. And the cop showed up like 10 minutes later.
I was sitting there. I had my headphones in, and I saw the two police officers come in, and then two more, and then two more.
What?
And I was like,
There were like
oh,
8.
there were 8.
Wait, what?
For guys not buying coffee. And I was like, oh my God. And the cops didn't ask her any questions. There was no investigation. They beelined for these dudes. And I was like, they're actually going to go do something about this, right?
And then I heard Michelle's voice, because you hear it on the video.
What did they do? Did someone tell me what they did?
They didn't do anything. I saw the entire thing.
Yeah, and I was like, oh my God.
So I started sweating and I started shaking. Now, mind you, it's almost all white people in the Starbucks. Half of them don't have coffees.
Right.
And what was so frustrating is that no one was saying anything. No one was paying attention. And then Melissa was the first white person to say something.
And then all of a sudden, you know how like that moment where you see something and then you really see it? I was like, oh my God. So then I stood up and I was like, I was just in here yesterday. I didn't buy coffee. I sat here for an hour. You know, I confronted the cops. I confronted the barista. And I was like, did you feel like your life was in danger? And she couldn't respond to me. So I was like, well, I don't know what else to do. So I stood back and I yelled at her and I said, you're a coward. I walked back to my table and I'm packing up all my stuff and I look up and there are just all these white women staring at me. And I was like, oh my God, what's going to happen now? I look over and we made eye contact. I mean, I knew those kinds of things happened. But I never spoke up in my life before. And I didn't even like intend anything. I just was standing there and I was so angry and I was so scared for them. And I just like really felt it for the first time, and I really felt like, oh my God, that never happens to me. It just hit me. And I'm ashamed to say it just hit me at that time, but I'm glad it hit me.
We just talked about that. You have to have the experience. You have to see it and experience it in some way to really, for it to be real and tangible.
And I got outside and I was shaking too. And I was like, somebody's got to put this on social media. And then I'm like, oh, wait a minute, I can do it. I had no followers. I'm like shaking. I'm writing this tweet. Michelle is standing next to me. I'm like, is this caption okay? And I was like, okay, maybe I should tweet it at some other people. So I tweeted it at Sean King and at DeRay McKesson. 24 hours later, oh my gosh. That experience of going viral is insane.
I can imagine.
Insane. And how many people said to me, I never knew that happened until you shared it. There must have been more to that story.
There's nothing else happened. That's how racism works. It doesn't make sense.
Exactly.
Nothing else needs to happen. You see black skin, 911.
Exactly.
You know, outside, we were talking to all those girls, and there was like a group of them, and we can't believe how calm those guys were. They were so calm. What'd they say? Oh, we would have flipped out.
We would have flipped out.
Oh,
well, we were flipping.
And I go, and you would have been able to because you're white girls.
Right.
And I was like, uh-oh. How are they going to react? And they were like, you know what, you're right. Because when you're in that moment, you can't deny it anymore. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. It was very obvious.
She was the person to speak up. And I just amplified what she did.
You flowed her power.
Exactly.
Yes.
And we do believe 100% that if she had been the one to tweet that, no, it would not. We would not be sitting here. When a white person says it, it's news.
We've been talking about how do we bridge that gap.
And you guys have seen
you're bridging the gap. You are joining forces to make change. I think it's so beautiful, and you got to see that she wasn't being heard. Now I'm going to help you be heard. I'm going to amplify your voice by adding my voice to your voice as your sister, and as understanding that this is not right.
Right. Because they both there and experienced it in a similar way. Because that you can be in the same room and see this and not experience this, you know, the same way.
Right. When I look at somebody like Megyn Kelly, okay, I know, but here's the thing. Here's the thing. When I look at somebody like Megyn
She's so much more forgiving than me.
You have to be.
You are, and I appreciate that.
We all have our biases.
We do.
And when she apologized, she got on television, and I'm not saying that there would have been this big turnover of like, oh, now I get it. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that instead of constantly punishing, like, I get it. I get it. And you're going to get punished. You're going to get your backlash. You are. That's going to happen. And you should. But at the same time, that's the time to start having a conversation. I would love to know why she thought that was okay. That's why I'm saying when you get to that place where it's like, oh, I made a mistake. Whereas where Megyn Kelly got, oh, snap. She did not come back on that show. She was in like, she was crushed. She was just like, I am sorry. She was. You should see it, tape. You should see it.
We gotta see the apology.
You gotta see the apology.
I want to begin with 2 words. I'm sorry. You may have heard that yesterday we had a discussion here about political correctness and Halloween costumes. And that conversation turned to whether it is ever okay for a person of one race to dress up as another. A black person making their face lighter or a white person making theirs darker to make a costume complete. I defended the idea, saying as long as it was respectful and part of a Halloween costume, it seemed okay. Well, I was wrong, and I am sorry.
When she got back on television, there was an opening that happened because of that statement that she made. There was an opening that happened. There was an opening that happened. For us to be able to recognize when those opportunities come to penetrate and re-educate in a certain way. She caused a conversation, and I'm not trying to let white women off the hook. That's not what I'm doing. I'm just trying to be realistic.
Yes.
The unfortunate part about this, because I knew what was going to happen. I already knew. I'm sure she knew too. I was like, wow, the unfortunate part about this is that the conversation is going to stop with her. She's not going to be part of it.
All right. The trouble that's happening today, the one positive thing is that everything's getting unearthed and there's conversation.
Well, I really appreciate you guys coming to the table.
Yeah, I think the two of you are awesome.
Thank you, ladies.
You guys are amazing.
Yeah, this is awesome.